Welcome back. Well, as I said earlier, I'm being joined by Dr. Kabiru Adamu. He's an enterprise security risk management and intelligence specialist. We'll be talking about the federal government prosecution of banditry in Nigeria and as well as tagging them as terrorists. Good morning, Dr. Adamu.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Well done.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, and same to you. Hope the year started on a good note for you.
We thank God. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Adamu, you are now aware that the federal government has proscribed banditry in Nigeria and as well as tagging bandits as terrorists. So I want to ask you, as a security expert, is this belated or is it coming at the wrong time or the right time?
Well, it is a requirement of the Terrorism Prevention Act that was passed in 2011 and then amended in 2013. That act provides or requires that that only the court have the constitutional right, as it were, to declare any group or any individual as terroristic. So in this instance, the court have declared at least two groups, what is called Mbindiga and Yang Tada, as terroristic, and it has also added that any group that is doing similar activities like these two groups is terroristic. So that's number one. It is in fulfillment of that requirement. We've seen instances in the past where even the military attempted to declare a group as terroristic, and we challenged that attempt by the military to say, no, that is not what the law says. The law says it's only a competent court of jurisdiction. And as someone who studies terrorism, I know how significant it is that we comply with our existing laws when it comes to terrorism, especially in an era where there is a lot of politicking and the politicization of security. So that's the number one thing, this fulfillment of the requirement. The second thing is we have a National Counterterrorism Strategy 2016, which provides for how the country should deal with terrorist groups. So we're hoping that now that officially these groups are terroristic, that what the government will do is to now use that National Counterterrorism Strategy to deal with these groups. Maybe in the course of our conversation, we can talk about this, the contents of this National Counterterrorism Strategy and what we hope to see going forward in terms of government action based on this proscription of these groups, these bandit groups, by a competent court of jurisdiction.
So now, what impact is this going to have on our fight against banditry? Because I had a guest earlier this morning who said, well, it won't make any difference because Boko Haram were attacked terrorists and up to today we are still battling with them. So what difference will this make?
Like I said, there is the National Counterterrorism Strategy, and that National Counterterrorism Strategy provides for how we deal with terrorist groups in the country. I think it will make a lot of differences, but the implementation is where the details are in. How we implement the aspect of the National Counterterrorism Strategy vis-a-vis this proscription of the group is what matters. So that National Counterterrorism Strategy has 5 elements within it. The number one element is to forestall the activities of the group. In other words, bring it to an end through whatever means. It could mean law enforcement, it could mean policy issues, it could mean so many things, but to forestall it, the interpretation of that would be subject to the dynamics and the operations of the group. It could mean deploying the Super Tucano as an example, and I'm very happy to note that the federal government says that it has obtained the consent of the supplier of that Super Tucano for usage to forestall the activities of this group. Number 2 is to identify the group itself. Who is it? Who are its members? Who are those supporting it? And then under what circumstances the group operate. Number 3 is to block its finances. How does it generate financing? How does it generate membership to stop that? How do we bring in our foreign partners? In this instance, Those groups are operating around Niger and to an extent Chad and Cameroon. How do we bring in Niger, Chad, and Cameroon into supporting us in the implementation of this counter-terrorism strategy that will bring these groups to an end? So I'm hoping to see a lot, but the determine we implement all of this, and of course the will and desire by the operators in the industry. Currently, our national counterterrorism strategy, despite the fact that we have a commander counterterrorism that is domiciled in the office of the National Security Advisor, we rarely hear him working, but it is the military that is almost to, let's say, 70 to 80% that is implementing the national counterterrorism strategy. So will the military also take up this responsibility to bring the activities of this to an end? Or are we going to see what the national counterterrorism strategy says? Say it's a whole of government approach that would include both the hard and the soft approach. So a lot really would determine on the level of implementation and how government has the will to approach the implementation of this national counterterrorism strategy vis-a-vis the prescription of this group.
All right. Finally, let me ask you, Dr. Adamu, talking about the national counterterrorism strategy. Now, as an expert, do you think that strategy is a perfect one to win this war, or there is something amiss?
So I'm of the view that, frankly, we should review that strategy. Like I said, it was introduced first in 2014, then reviewed in 2016, and 5 years down the road, I think it's a time that we review it. I also mentioned one key flaw in the course of my submission, where I said, even though there is a commander counterterrorism strategy that is in the office of the National Security Advisor, you rarely hear him working. What you hear more often than not is the activities of the military with regards to the implementation of the counterterrorism strategy. So I believe that counterterrorism is a whole of government approach. Not too long ago, a report was released by GIADA, which is the West African, the ECOWAS body that has mandate over money laundering and then the countering of the funding of terrorism activities. And then also not too long ago, the Attorney General of the Federation told us that he has applied, or Nigeria has applied to join this financial action task force on countering terrorism. So a lot is going on in terms of our approach to counter-terrorism. It's not just this military approach, and the entire counter-terrorism strategy identifies these rules. Blocking the funding of terrorists, blocking their ability to generate or recruit new members, blocking their ability to form partnership with international terrorist groups across the world is not something that the military can do alone. So again, I think it's high time we do a review of the implementation of the counterterrorism strategy so that we see where there are lapses in its implementation and try to understand why the military has kind of taken over the responsibilities of almost all the other agencies that are involved within the counterterrorism strategy. I believe that every ministry, department, and agency of government should have its own role to play. If you look at Ministry of Information or even the National Orientation Agency, they have a key role to play. The de-radicalization and counter-radicalization component can be commandeered by these two agencies of government, but currently we see the military playing that role. So there is a lot that can be improved upon in terms of the implementation of the national counterterrorism strategy. But as a strategy, in terms of its content and its outlook, I believe that if we implement it, even if it's just 70 or 80%, I believe that it will help us and it will go a long way towards reducing or containing the terrorist challenge that we have in the country.
But I hope those concerned will actually listen to this free advice and improve on the national counterterrorism strategies. Many thanks to you, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, Enterprise Security Risk Management and Intelligence Specialist, for joining us this morning on Inside Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Stay safe.
All right, we hope to see more of you whenever the need arises.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kabiru Adamu. On this note, we come to the end of Inside Nigeria for this morning. Make this with us tomorrow, Friday, for the last edition for the week. We are Winifred Obebo. We'll be here to anchor the show. My name is Membody Badibo. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.